The first 5 years of retirement can quietly decide the next 20, not just your money, but your mind and your body too. There are three decisions that matter most: protecting your money from really bad timing, replacing what your career gave you, and building the strength and sharpness you're going to want 15 years from now. Here's how to get all three right. Start with money, because that's usually where all of our retirement planning starts. Look, here's an example. Picture two people. Same age, same savings, same even portfolio, same withdrawal rate. And over 30 years, they even earn the exact same average return, right down to the decimal point. You'd think they'd end up approximately in the same place. They don't. One can have plenty of money left later in life. The other can run out years too soon. The only difference is the order those returns showed up. It's what financial planners call a sequence of returns risk. Look, I've got a full video breaking down the actual numbers behind this. I'll link to it above. Here's the short version. Imagine retiring, let's call it with $1 million. And 6 months later, the market drops 25%. Where does your next 12 months of spending, where does it really come from? While you're still working, a falling market, yeah, it's an issue, but it barely touches you because you keep contributing. You've got time. The moment you're withdrawing instead of adding, that means you've got to sell into a drop. It means you don't just sit back and wait for the money to recover. You miss part of it and you miss it permanently. Look, 5 years isn't some magic cutoff. Think of it as the opening stretch. When a bad stretch combined with ongoing withdrawals, it does the most disproportionate damage. It's like hitting a pothole in the first mile of a cross-country drive instead of at mile 2,900, okay, at the end of the country. Some potholes, they create widely different damage. It depends on the timing. Look, you can't predict which years the market hands you a great year and one year's not so great. But what you can control is whether your plan needs it to cooperate. So how do you do that? A cash reserve lets you skip selling investments during a bad year. Look, a clear line between your expenses, what's essential and what's flexible, so you're not guessing under pressure. Maybe another source of income besides your portfolio. Permanent, that floor income we've talked about before. Social Security timing, a pension, part-time work, just so a falling market isn't the only thing standing between you and your bills. None of that requires you to be smarter than the market. It just means the market's timing stops being the thing your retirement solely depends on. Look, you got to put this on paper before you retire. If the market falls, let's call it 25% in year one, what are you going to actually do? Not what you hope happens. You've all heard this before. Hope is not a strategy. What will you actually do? Now look, here's where retirement planning gets really strange. We don't talk about it very much. You can get the money decision 100% exactly right and still get retirement wrong, because the second decision may determine whether you actually enjoy the life that your portfolio is supposed to fund. Let's call it this: for 30 or 40 years, work quietly organizes your life. It tells you where to be Monday morning. It hands you problems to solve and people who expect things from you. It gives you a title. It gives you a reason to get up in the morning. It gives you feedback when you do something well. And then one day, none of that shows up anymore. And nobody warns you, really. I got to tell you how strange that silence feels. The dangerous version of retirement, it doesn't look so dangerous. What happens? You sleep a little later. You stop seeing the people you used to see every day without trying. Tuesday starts looking a lot like a Saturday. Nobody's expecting you anywhere. 6 months in, nothing's like, it's not technically wrong. The bills are paid, maybe your golf game is fine, but something feels missing. That's not a staying busy problem. You can fill a calendar and still feel like something's gone. The real question is, what actually replaces work? The thing that it was quietly providing, the structure, connection, challenge, and the sense that you're still useful to somebody, that doesn't mean another career. And it doesn't mean retirement failed. It means your retirement needs some architecture, right, of its own. I'd build it around three things before you leave your career rather than after. First, what structures your week? Look, not every hour, and that's not what I'm talking about. One of the real gifts of all of our retirements is what? It's having freedom. But there's a big difference between freedom and having absolutely no shape to your days. What about exercise Monday and Wednesday? Grandkids on Tuesday, volunteering on Thursday, breakfast with a friend on Friday. The specific activities, it doesn't really matter. It's just simply having some anchors that you can count on in your week. Where's your regular social interaction come from? Today, while you're working, it's at work. Relationships happen automatically. You don't schedule a conversation with a coworker. You just see people day after day, and you don't even have to try. Retirement removes all of that automatic contact. Now it's got to become intentional. Friends, a class, church, a volunteer group, even a regular walk with a neighbor, whatever actually fits into your life. But don't assume these relationships, they'll just happen. They just maintain themselves. They do not. Just because suddenly you have more time, usually it's the opposite. And here's where you're going to feel useful. Mentoring, teaching, helping a neighbor, building something, learning something hard. Look, let's think about that one really. When is the last time you learned something new? Look, it doesn't need to earn money or impress anybody, but there should be somewhere your presence genuinely makes a difference. Somewhere where if you weren't there, your absence, somebody's going to actually notice. Look, here's the test I'd run before you retire. Call it the Tuesday test, all right? Picture an ordinary Tuesday. It's 2 years in. It's not a holiday. It's not a trip. It's just Tuesday. You wake up at 7. Okay? What happens next? Who needs you? If you have absolutely no idea, look, it's not a reason to be afraid of retirement, but it's something you ought to worth designing on. Think about it. Do it on purpose. Don't wait to find out by accident. Look, we built a retirement calculator for our money. Almost nobody builds one for their body. We'll spend hours figuring out whether that portfolio survives to 90 and almost no time asking, what do we want to be physically capable of at 75? That's not the same question as how long you live. It's health span, the years you're able to move well, think clearly, and participate in the life that money was supposed to fund. So here's the organizing question for the next few minutes. Think about this, please, and you may want to take some notes. At 75, what do you still want to be able to do? Can you get up off the floor without using your hands? Can you carry your own suitcase into the overhead bin on the plane? Can you walk several miles on a vacation without your niece saying, okay, we can't do this anymore? Can you get down and play with the grandchild and then get back up? Can you keep living in your own home on your own terms without needing help with just the ordinary stuff? Those aren't fitness goals. That's retirement capital. It is as real, if not more real, than anything in your portfolio. And it's just as easy to spend down without ever noticing it's happening. One skipped walk, one skipped set of stairs at a time. Look, if you want a clear read on where your own plan financially stands, okay, before we get back to the body side of this, look, I created the Retirement Reality Check. It walks you through all of your finances, free of charge. Drop your email over at brainflash.com. It'll come straight to your inbox. Now, let's get back to 75-year-old you. 3 things that will build physical capital as I said, just as, if not more important than your financial capital. First, balance. Why? Falls are the number one leading cause of the loss of independence as we age. Tai Chi, yoga, simple leg stands, it trains your body to catch itself before a slip becomes a fall. And it sharpens how fast you react when you need to. Look, this may be too much information, but when I go up or down stairs, I change pace, the position, which foot goes first. All of our brains in our day-to-day activities, the way you shave, take stairs, brush your teeth, try the opposite hand. Next, strength. Muscle naturally declines after 60, but resistance training reverses a real share of that. Look, it's not having bigger muscles. It's what actually lets you get out of a chair without your hands, lift that suitcase, get up off that floor without even thinking twice about it. You need nothing fancier than squats, carries, and basic body weight work, and do it consistently. Now, how about cognitive health, which connects both of those things? Exercise protects the brain on its own, but the real payoff, it shows up when movement and mental engagement happen together, like here, learning a dance routine or playing pickleball, anything that makes your body and your brain work at once. Add other people to that activity and you get a third benefit, real connection. Look, research shows consistently a lower risk of cognitive decline. Even time spent with your grandchildren shows up across multiple research studies as good for you in the same way. What? Better mood. I'll say this most times. More connection, genuine mental stimulation from the storytelling, problem solving that comes with it. This is not another job. It's the opposite. Using the freedom retirement gives you on purpose instead of by accident. Look, once you know what you want your 75-year-old self to be capable of, you can work backward, starting today, not someday. Look, these are three very different questions, but they're really asking the same thing. What kind of retirement are you building? If the market falls 25% right after you retire, where does your spending come from? What are you retiring to? And who needs you on an ordinary Tuesday? And at 75, what do you want this body to still be able to do? Protect the money, build a life that you want to wake up to, and build the body that lets you live it. That's what the first 5 years are really deciding. Not the day you retire, but who you are 20 years afterward. This is Brain Flash.